Now, Sunday saw Tottenham lose yet again to their North London rivals Arsenal in the Premier League at White Hart Lane. 3 seasons on the bounce, to be precise. And after the game, there was lots of mixed emotions. Some people really holding Ange Postecoglou to account, and others saying we've got to give him time and be patient. And, you know, in the aftermath of the North London derby, there were many people saying different things about the result, including Ange Postecoglou and pundits such as Gary Neville. So today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, I'm going to be asking the question, are Gary Neville and Ange Postecoglou right about Tottenham Hotspur? And if you are new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, why don't you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with both Gary and Ange? So yeah, in the aftermath of the North London derby, I did, my reaction video that I usually do, where I asked certain questions. I probed a lot of, the issues that I saw. So if you want to see that sort of initial reaction, go and watch that video after you've watched this. But this is about the aftermath, in the hours that followed, what were people talking about and saying? And Ange Postecoglou's post-match interview was quite telling. He really actually made some bold statements, which a lot of Spurs fans were quite surprised at. But if you haven't seen it, this is what he basically said in his post-match interview.
Well, Ange, a difficult result to take. How do you sum today up?
Yeah, no, it's very disappointing. Obviously, big game for us, for our supporters, and didn't deliver. So you got to take the pain of that, and disappointment all round.
15 shots, plenty of possession as well. Where do you think the team haven't been able to turn that thing into anything meaningful today?
Yeah, it's been the story of our season so far. For the most part, we controlled the game, played in their half, created some chances, but we could have created so many more. We just lack a little bit of belief and conviction in that front third. So, that's up to me to fix. And, at the same time, it was always going to be a tight game, decided by moments, and they got their moment and capitalised, and we didn't.
You say that it's up to you to fix. We just had Son in here. He feels it's fully the players' responsibility, that they're getting themselves into all these positive positions, but just lacking that conviction. Do you think that's fair?
Oh, look, it's obviously my directive, so it's me that's got to sort of try and give the guys the feedback and the direction, the way forward to overcome this. I don't think. It's for the lack of trying by the lads. It's just, like I said, we've just going through this sort of early trot in the season where we're playing well, dominating games, but not getting a reward for it.
With the game so tight, how frustrating was it to concede a goal from a set piece?
Yeah, it was always going to be a moment, and really, the threats that Arsenal posed today were in transition, which I thought we handled pretty well, and set pieces, which again I thought we held pretty well, but we switched off for one. And good teams will punish you, and that's what happened to us today. We switched off for one and paid the price. Looking
at the bigger picture, frustrating day today. Would you say it's been a frustrating month as a whole?
It's I don't know about frustrating. Like I said, it's just we haven't got a return for our play, and but at the same time, that's the nature of football. You need to fix those areas we need to fix, because otherwise, our dominance. We're going to keep opposition teams in the game, and good teams will punish us, but all teams will think that they're in the game. So we need to just be a little bit more, have a little bit more conviction in that front third to really finish teams off.
It's a busy next part of this season before the break. Do you think actually that could be of advantage to you in terms of getting out of this kind of rut that you might be in with the trends that you're talking about there?
Yeah, I think it helps having games, and we can rotate the squad, give some guys some opportunities. I much prefer it that way. I guess having the international break after the last loss was kind of put you in a pause mode, but we've got plenty of games this month to right these things we need to.
You said at the start of the season, the first campaign really about setting principles, getting your message across. The second campaign, you normally win. Are you seeing enough in this side that this season you do think that they will be a side that can win? I'm talking silverware.
Yeah, absolutely.
Competing right at the top.
Am I going to answer the question, or are you going to keep asking it? No, absolutely. And I think I'll correct myself. I don't usually win things. I always win things in my second year. Nothing's changed.
And you're confident you can do that with this side? You're seeing enough?
Well, I just said it now, so I don't say things unless I believe them.
Right. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
So yeah, Ange just doubled down. Earlier in the season, he pretty much said the quote of that he usually wins in his second season at a club. I'll play that right now for you as well.
Usually my second season I'll win things. So
That's promising.
yeah, well that's the whole idea of it, I guess. First year is about establishing principles, creating a foundation, and hopefully the second year going on to win things. Of course, easier said than done, particularly in the Premier League and the competition we're in. But that's always the way I've kind of looked at it, is that by the second year you should be in a position where you can push on, and depending on how the first year's gone. I thought, last year we had some really good moments. Obviously, we had some tough moments. I think we learnt as much from the tough moments as we did from the good stuff, and hopefully that means that we're in a good place. We're definitely a better prepared team than we were last year.
But doubling down is quite strong, especially after a derby defeat. I believe, he's got a lot of cojones, you could say, and balls to basically come out and say, you know what, guys, I'm the winner and I'm at this club. I want to win. I do like that. I like that element of it, that he is still adamant that with this Tottenham side, he can achieve a lot and he can win. But I think what Spurs fans are annoyed at is we understand this statement of intent, but we need to solve some issues before we think about silverware, such as set pieces, such as, the high line, a plan B, attacking and actually scoring goals in the Premier League. That's what's quite frustrating for Spurs fans. Those sort of issues have not yet been resolved under Ange Postecoglou, but he doubles down on a statement about winning something this season for Spurs. We all know we're in the Premier League, but we're not really going to win that. But the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup and the Europa League are viable options, 3 viable options for Spurs to end their trophy hoodoo. And also, Andrew was quite spiky, as you probably noticed in this post-match interview with Sky Sports. He really wanted to get his point across. And, with the reporter Emma Saunders, I believe it was, he really wanted to, answer those questions and not be interrupted. You could tell he was frustrated after that result because Spurs were a bit lacklustre against Arsenal, weren't they? And they just weren't able to break down a team, another top team, which at home is proving to be very difficult. Again, another good statement is he says, I don't say things unless I believe them. Nothing has changed. And quizzed on whether he was confident he could do it with his current Spurs side, Postecoglou stayed firm. Well, I sort of said it now. He said, I don't say things unless I believe them. I mean, it is quite like, I do want my manager to say this. And, when we reflect on the quotes that Mourinho said and the quotes that sort of Conte said, they were basically on the other end of the spectrum, being like, I win, I have come here to win. But what Ange is saying is, we can win. And I like that. And that's why a lot of people in my comment section are disagreeing with me at the moment. But I still back Postecoglou to the hill because I think that he cares. He really wants to improve this side and show that his brand of football can work in the Premier League. I still think it can. I think Arsenal were a tough test and it was going to be a tricky fixture even without Rice and Ødegaard. But I like his belief and like what he has to say. But moving on from Ange Postecoglou, Gary Neville was on his Sky Sports podcast straight after the game and had a few choice words as well to say about Spurs.
I mean, they'll be really disappointed. I just think when you don't score in a game like this, almost like it feels like you've come and a game of football is about entertainment and excitement, and they've been beaten 1-0. I hope they're quite calm and measured, but obviously understandably upset about losing the game. I think that Tottenham played well in the game between the boxes. I think the football was good. Could you be more demanding of them to try and think about how they could have got a goal against Arsenal? I could, but I genuinely want to give Arsenal credit for what they are and what they do. That's as good as you'll see in defensive shape. Honestly, really tough to break down. There were teams that I played against, you think of maybe sometimes the Gerard Houllier, Rafa Benitez, Liverpool teams that were very narrow. They had that big back four, and that's what Arsenal are now, and they had that tight midfield, and then the 2 up front dropping in. The Mourinho Chelsea team was so difficult to score a goal against. Scoring a goal against them was a monumental ask. And it's becoming, I know Arsenal do concede goals, but it's becoming really tough to get a chance, let alone a goal. So focus will come on Solanke in the first half, a £60 million striker. And that's definitely one where his first touch has to be better. Out of his feet, bang. Really decisive. Not quite happening for him at the moment in front of the goal and what's happening for him in terms of goals. But there were parts of his game today that were really good. So I don't want to go in too hard on Spurs because of the way in which Arsenal defend. I would have liked to have seen them at times, but that's just maybe my nature of how I see football versus how Ange Postecoglou sees football, or the Tottenham players, or maybe even other clubs. I would like to see the ball being recycled to be able to work a position to deliver into the box, so that you get bodies in the box and then something happens. They did put some crosses into the box, and I think at times they caused a couple of problems for Arsenal's defence, and Arsenal defended a lot of the crosses well too. There were times where I felt as though they recycle it, and then they're trying to push through these sort of really narrow spaces and these really narrow sort of pathways that Arsenal leave you in the middle of the pitch because they're so compact and tight. And I get the fact that you almost want to keep probing there to open space up wide, but I'd feel more comfortable with Maddison. He did it once in the second half later on, where De Bruyne does it for City really well, where he just widens his position a little bit and starts to put crosses in from that side, which might then mean that Arsenal's midfield have to adjust, or some of their wide players have to get drawn out. And I'd like to see that a little bit more, where you don't quite see the sort of narrowness of the game of Tottenham, and you see the sort of play being put wider and work maybe sort of 2v1s and try and get to the byline more and probe in this wide area rather than probing through the middle. That's how I would like to see it a little bit more. But I've not watched the game back, and sometimes you watch a game, it isn't how you imagine it. But my gut feeling in the game was that the wide areas were what could have been exploited. I thought Ben White might have just felt a little bit, 2 weeks without playing. Sometimes I remember being in that position. You can sometimes feel a little bit undercooked, and you just step off it a little bit, and you have that little international break where you go, so maybe the song could have been fed a little bit more to go at him, and he wasn't. So for me, that's the one thing that I would say. But I'm not going to be too critical of Spurs, because I think generally they played a good game. One thing they do have to answer is the fact that they have a poor set-piece record. Romero, it's poor defending. He's poor defending. He's got to stay tight to Gabriel. I will go hard on the goalkeeper, in the sense of I played with dominant goalkeepers and I played with not so dominant goalkeepers. It's an absolute breath of fresh air and a must for me to have a goalkeeper that's brave. Now, I thought he actually started deeper on the line, and actually when I watched the replay in commentary on the rerun of it, he was a yard or so off his line, but he was getting involved in the get him out the way and come. That ball lands 3 or 4 yards in your zone. I'm not having this idea that keepers get blocked. The great goalkeepers, the best goalkeepers, if they get blocked, it's a foul. If they get blocked coming out, they normally get a whistle will go. He has to come out there for me and punch that. He has to help Romero. And that's an expectation of me as a defender, that my goalkeeper has to come out and catch it or punch it if it's 3-4 yards out in the centre of the goal. I don't care how it's being played in. Your starting position should be 1 or 2 yards out. You should just be able to step, jump and catch or punch. And the idea that he gets involved all the time, he's always sort of like, he's pontificating, Vicario. He's always whinging before the ball comes in. His arms are everywhere. He's a bit frantic. I don't want to see that.
So Gary's basically saying that, what we're doing is lacking some sustenance, good between the boxes, but we're lacking that potent edge. And I've said this on my last couple of videos that I've done about Spurs, that we are lacking in creative areas to actually finish our dinner. I think Solanke could be that player to do that, but what he seems to be doing more over this is Gary Neville is complimenting Arsenal, saying basically what Arsenal did was suffocate us and stop us from being able to play that style of football, which teams tend to be doing. And then they've basically put a dagger into us by doing something that we're not good at, and that is attacking us from a set piece that we simply cannot defend. That's the issue where I think, Ange Postecoglou as well dismissed the questions on set pieces. But I think both these comments from Neville and Postecoglou sort of are hitting certain nails on the head. I do agree with both of what they're saying. I think sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture at Spurs. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people at the moment are disagreeing with what I'm saying about Postecoglou, but I like to remain firm about, I think he is good enough to be, we should stick by him. I'm not really sure sacking him would be the right option. I look at teams around us who are going through like turmoil all the time and hiring and firing. I just don't think it makes sense to do that. Whereas I think we stick by him, we let the youngsters develop under his tenure, and I think we're going to be reaping the benefits. I think at the moment with Spurs, we have to remember where we are and remember where we're going. I think we've had a lot of good players, the likes of Harry Kane, who have been taken away from us and sold, and we need to really, sort of develop this new side and identity. Pochettino, he wasn't basically proven until he got to Southampton and really got the cogs ticking. I think Postecoglou needs more time. I think we need to question him maybe from Christmas. If this is still going on at Christmas, then we maybe need to lift our heads up out the sand and sort of smell the coffee. But I don't think that, I look at the summer business, maybe Ange needed more backing from Levy. That's what I think, and I want to get this point clear to my subscribers. I'm not a Levy sympathiser. I don't agree with what Levy has done over the last 20 years of his tenure. I think he's a good businessman. I think he's good at bringing in that sort of thing for the club. But spending and transfers have been an issue in certain years. But I want to back Postecoglou in his ideology and his philosophy. I think he is still the man for Tottenham Hotspur. But you're going to have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with Ange, what he had to say? Do you agree with what Gary Neville had to say? Let me know your opinions in the comments down below. And if you have enjoyed, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also become a member. Link in the description down below. And I'll see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.